Good morning, Kevin McCullough. A lot of people may be wondering what they're looking for after Hurricane Irene comes through. Is it all hype or is it real? How do you prepare? What do you do? Hurricane Irene making landfall. Show the radar again. You got, it was just there. Where'd it go? You got 250 miles now off of and that's from the eye. You see the outer. That outer stuff is a big, huge swath of the hurricane. They say that it's about a 300-mile swath from the eye. That's how big this storm is. You saw in that news story we played in the last segment. It's huge, looking from space. It's just a big, looks like a record. But you can tell that one cell right there where that one line, the 250-mile line is, that's headed straight. That's right at Charlotte. I mean, not Charlotte, Charleston. So you've got some really tough stuff all the way from Orlando up through Jacksonville, all the way around there, and then the 285-mile line looks like the center of the eye is headed sort of straight towards Raleigh, but they think it's going to turn a little bit as it starts to hit land, and that's where it starts coming up the rest of the East Coast. So, a lot of interesting things may happen in the next 24 hours. Are you prepared? What should you be prepared for? Let's start with line 3, Jerry in New Hampshire. Good morning, Jerry. Welcome to the Kevin McCullough Show.
Oh, good morning again. Yes, I heard on the, I believe it was the Weather Channel, they were telling people that if you do leave your home, to make sure you bring proof of ownership of your house. I mean, that would scare me right there, and I would be afraid to leave my house. Like the person answering said, well, probably because the papers could get wet, et cetera, but even so, I still would be afraid somebody would be in my house. But I do prepare. I do make sure I have water, I have an animal, and I do make sure that I can, go down in my cellar or whatever. But my husband doesn't, he thinks I'm kind of weird, but I am a preparer.
Well, he thinks you're weird, but he's going to be grateful to you if this gets to New Hampshire and you've got everything taken care of. Thanks for the call, Jerry. Appreciate it. Let's talk to Jackie, line 1, calling from Louisiana. Jackie, welcome to the Kevin McCullough Show. I'm assuming on some level you're you're a survivor of Katrina?
Yes.
And what would your advice be for the folks in the path of Irene right now?
Board up your homes. Take all your, important papers with you, your medications, your pets, your children, and get out.
Are you a former New Orleans resident, or where were you in Louisiana when Katrina came?
We're about 60 miles northwest of New Orleans.
Okay.
And so we didn't get the water surge, but, it always comes in. It's a matter of what degree, depending on the strength of the hurricane and the angle that it comes in, into the coast. But there's always been damage. It's not always televised.
Jackie, let me ask you a question. When Hurricane Katrina happened, why do you think the people stayed behind that did?
I think because maybe in the past the Superdome itself had been a safe place. And, they went in one day, and after, the hurricane left, they were able to go home.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and this time, we had levee breaches, and it was the worst-case scenario that had been painted for us.
Well, and Charleston is in a very similar situation to New Orleans right now, and they happen to be a city that sits below sea level.
Yeah.
My family and I were just there this summer, and, even on a mild summer day, they had waves that were coming up and kind of crashing over some of the barriers. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Thanks for the call, Jackie, and that's good advice. Board up your home, get your important papers, make sure you have those things that, will give you proper identification and so forth. Have an action plan in place, if nothing else. 17 minutes before the hour. So we'll keep you posted throughout the morning, and just listen to media, and do. My advice is do what you're told. Let's see what Morgie says. Line 2 in New Orleans. Morgie, good morning. You're on the Kevin McCullough Show. Hi.
Hi. Good morning. Oh, please. I've been wanting to do this since yesterday. I don't have internet or anything, but please leave. please leave. When they tell you to go, go. This was a terrible thing, Katrina. We left when they told us to go. We had a 2.5-week baby. My grandbaby was 2.5 weeks old, but we left. Because in our case, it wasn't just the hurricane, it was what happened after.
Right, all the looting and stuff.
No.
And the flooding.
So
Yeah.
please go. We had elderly people and people who had lived through Betsy and Camille, and that's all you heard. You know, well, I've been through them before. But when you saw the size of this thing, you know, I told my daughter, I said, oh, my God, no matter where this hits, it's going to affect everybody on the Gulf Coast down here.
Yeah. Well, and this one is going to hit almost everybody on the entire East Coast, which is considerably larger than the Gulf Coast.
I know. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, I'm reliving all of these memories.
I'm sure.
When we came back into town, all the curtains flying out the windows of all the hotels, these tall buildings, and all the devastation. It's something you don't want to stay for because the sounds alone will kill you. The sounds of it, they're terrible. Please take your children. If you don't want to go, consider them and leave.
Gotcha. Morgie, good advice. Thank you for being here. Some people on the East Coast, some of the morning radio people this morning were saying this is all hype. Don't pay attention to the hype. It's not it's not going to be as bad as you think. Let's see what Linda says, calling from Washington, D.C. this morning. Linda, good morning. You're on the Kevin McCullough Show. Glad you're with us.
Good morning. I was just calling to say that I never took the hurricane warnings seriously after living so long without hurricanes in California. But we moved here and then moved to Newport News for a few years during Isabel, and it was scary. They told us we didn't have to evacuate, but anyone they tell you to evacuate, leave your house. Do not stay there. The house isn't worth it. You can build another house.
And and that's what the people that are being encouraged to get out are they're reminding them human life is far more important than your things. So thanks for that reminder as well, Linda. It's the Kevin McCullough Show. We're glad you're with us. We'll keep tracking the storm through this morning. I mean, it's already moved, I think, 100 miles since we've been on the air this morning, or getting pretty close to it now. So it's moving fast. And if you look at that line, Ivan, when you can put it up again, look at that line. It started out pretty far off of the coast of Jacksonville and all the way through, now from Orlando, all the way up that coast. And you see the angrier the color, the angrier the storm. So you're seeing some pretty nasty stuff right over Jacksonville right now, and in the Charleston area. That's where that next kind of batch of clouds is there. That's what we're dealing with. And friends, I think it's better to take caution. Just start driving inland. If you can't do anything else, just start driving away from the coastline. And I think that, long story short, you'll be glad that you did. All right, there's a number of other things I would like to discuss this morning, and we're kind of crunched for time, and we want to make sure that we do justice to the things that we do discuss. So we'll pop in and out on the story of the hurricane and so forth as we're able to and as we need to. But there's another practical dilemma that I'm kind of mystified by. And it stems from a college in the suburban Chicago area. Elmhearst College, I'm a little bit familiar with, know some graduates from, actually is dealing. They put a new thing on their incoming application for incoming freshmen, and this is how the local NBC affiliate reported it last night. Okay, we're working on. I think the hurricane's already hit New York because we're having all kinds of technical problems this morning. Are you ready? Okay, NBC 5, I think, out of Chicago, reported yesterday on the story affecting Elmhearst College and the incoming application for freshmen.
Would you consider yourself to be a member of the LGBT community? Yes, no, or prefer not to answer? The question's right there on page 1 of Elmhearst College's new application.
It's not just about, okay, you get in and you don't. It's about knowing who the student is.
Dean of Admission Gary Rold says one way to get to know their incoming students is to just ask. That way, the school can help introduce LGBT students to the right people and groups on campus.
Offering an incentive to a group of students who are looking for a home and may not find that in a lot of other places, we consider that a good thing. It's very consistent with our mission.
Important to point out that answering the question on the application is purely optional, and administrators here say whether applicants choose to answer it or not has no bearing on their chances of getting in. But either way, they do hope it sends a message.
That this college is aware of you, that we value your input, and we are giving you the option of identifying yourself in our application materials.
The move's being welcomed by gay rights groups. The Center on Halstead says as our society continues to become more open and welcoming to LGBT people, it makes sense that institutions are giving individuals more opportunities to express their diversity.
I think it's a really awesome step that my campus and community are taking.
But since applicants who answer yes may be eligible for the same scholarships that minority applicants qualify for, not everyone supports the question.
All right, we'll talk about that when we continue. It's the Kevin McCullough Show. Don't go away.